That log load of firewood I got a couple weeks ago is finally cut up, and I did save a couple logs as I said I was going to mill into some lumber. So that's basically what this video is all about. I pulled out the Hudson HFE 21, my little mill there, and started to get ready to start doing some milling. Now, the three logs on the bottom there that look real old are logs that I had pulled from my yard this summer, and these ones like this cherry and the ones on top there were from that log load. So I do have a couple that I had already previously had stacked there, but I'm going to slice them all up today and show you some of the beautiful lumber that I actually wound up getting out of the that firewood logs. So I started by getting the mill set up, and here I am loading on the first log, and this is a nice cherry log. I think it was about 12 foot long there, and you can see I've got that little loader that I built for my mill, and it's the only way I can get logs this heavy up on it. So it takes some time to get the log on it and get the jack situated, and actually I put the mill too close to the pile, so I had to move a log there to be able to use a jack on that first one. But it's a slow way to load them, but actually it does get the job done, and it's worked good for a couple of years now, so I have no complaints, and it's real simple, so I've had no problems with it. So yeah, a log like this weighs well over 1,000 pounds, I think. So it gets it up on there, and then I got that little toe board that I built with a hydraulic jack that allows me to level everything up so I can get that pith on the log centered. And then logs this size need to use these little brackets to mill the first couple of cuts off of them. The log dogs just don't open up far enough to clamp it. So, you have some little extra things you have to do when you have a small manual mill, but for the price that you pay for these things, they're really well worth it. Here it is, just taking the first cut off the top of that cherry, and I've had many people ask me how I like this little Hudson HFE 21, and I think I've had almost 5 years now, and basically it's been a totally trouble-free unit, no problems with it whatsoever. About the only thing you have to do is just make sure that you grease it regularly and keep some good sharp blades ready to go for it. So here it is. This is just taking the first cut off the top of the log here. And you can see we've got the 2 days I was out here milling, we actually had like 30 mile an hour cold winds, so it really wasn't a lot of fun, but lumber did turn out to be really beautiful, so I'm happy. So in the end, I wound up getting well over 200 board feet of lumber from these logs from that truck, and most of it was cherry and some ash and stuff. So basically, the lumber from these firewood logs paid for most of that log load anyway. So here it is. I'm getting ready to set up to do the second cut, and I tried turning on that little digital display that I put on there and scale, but it turned out the batteries were dead on it, so now I have to just use the scale that's built into the mill there, the manual one, to set my cut thicknesses. Now I really have no plans for this lumber yet, but so I just kind of took and cut at random thicknesses here. I started with some 3/4, some 1 inch, some 5/4, some 6/4, some 8/4, and I have a couple like 3.5 inch slabs too. So I did just kind of cut a mixture of everything, and there you can see the beautiful red that was inside this first cherry log here. A lot of nice pattern and figure, and basically the whole log all the way through was just a couple little knots in there that I did run into, but basically it was just clear, nice figured wood. So that's something I really will be able to use in the future. I really love working with cherry, and I just love the color that it turns as it ages. Now, the trouble with a little mill too is that here you can see I got the chainsaw out to trim up a little bit there. These mills, they say, well, this one's supposed to be able to cut a 21-inch log. You can squeeze a bigger one on there, but it has to be perfectly straight. If you get any kind of a little bend or anything in the log, it just can mess up everything about fitting it on the mill there. So this mill, is a little bit tight for anything that has a crook in it or anything, so that's something you want to take into consideration when you're buying a mill, is exactly how big a log you want to be able to cut. But this one really does do a good job for when you're cutting logs that are the size that go with it. Now these brackets, after the first couple cuts, they come off, and I'm just kind of slabbing this log up, leaving the live edge on it, so I'm just going to flip it and just take some more flat cuts off of it. And one of the things that you really want to have when you have a mill is one of these log right cant hooks. I wish I had a little bit shorter one for the mill, but I tried buying one of those cheap ones at Tractor Supply first, and it just wouldn't grab, and I actually wound up bending it pretty easily. And then I got this log right cant hook, and that one has just been wonderful. There's no way I'll ever be able to bend that. So I took the cuts off the other side, and now I'm just taking that first slab off this side here. And you can see it does cut really nice. There is a lot of dirt in these firewood logs, so that's going to shorten the blade life, but there's a couple more slices off of there, and you can see that was a really beautiful cherry log. And another good thing is for moving these slabs, like that's about a 3.5 inch thick cherry slab there I saved, and for moving them, it really does help to have those pallet forks that go in the bucket of my little John Deere tractor there. They really did come in handy with this batch. So I got that first cherry cut up, and here's a maple that looked like it was around for a while. It was standing dead when they took it down, and this was also in the firewood. So looking at it at first, I thought it was going to be a nice spalted log, because it did show some good signs of spalt from the on the outside edges of there where it was cut, but it was a little disappointing once I did get into it. So again, here it is. It's basically my slow but sure loader for getting the log up on there. And the jack actually does work good, and it definitely will pick up anything that the mill will handle. So it's been a real great feature to add to the trailer. And you can see this log's really not that big, so it's it's easy to deal with one that's this size. So here we go again, just getting it loaded on the mill, and this log actually was able to, you can see the log dogs actually were able to grab onto this one, so that makes it a little quicker starting to cut it up. And you can see here's the first couple slices cut off of there, and there's really not that much spalting in there. There's some on the edges and stuff, but all in all, it still is there are some nice pieces of maple in there. And I actually did in the end wind up taking a slab that would be plenty thick enough to get some rolling pins out of later for my wife. So this one it's a dry log. You can see the sawdust with that wind is just kind of blowing back at me, but it's a real dry log, so you can see this is as fast as you can go to cut it. You just can't push the mill any faster. The engine will stop turning. So that's it. So it does take a while, and with a manual mill, it is definitely a lot of work, and you start to feel your muscles after the first couple of logs. So there it is. I just kept doing the same thing there. I just kept slicing down slabs off to one side of it, and they all were, really very nice looking, pretty much clear slabs and stuff, and they were pretty close to dried already, so this won't have to sit too long before being used. It's been so wet up here lately that I really was lucky to get 2 days in a row that I could spend outdoors here milling without having a pouring rain. We've just had so much rain lately, and everything is just total mud. I can't even walk in the garden to finish cleaning that up and get the tomato stakes out. They just sink in like quicksand. So there's a couple more slabs off of there, and you can see that was another. I did get some real nice maple out of that log. And then here's another nice cherry that came in the firewood. This one's I think it's about on the outside. The big end is about 14 or 15 inches diameter by a little bit over 12 feet long. So it just fit on the mill nicely there. And this is, here's something, I don't know if I've shown you this before, but it's actually a Doyle log scale that tells you how many board feet, or at least it gives you a good idea of how many board feet you have in a log. You can see it's, what you do is you just kind of go to the small end of the log if it's a straight log, and just get inside the bark there and get a measurement on the smallest cross section of it, and there it's like 12 inches on there. And then if you flip it over, you'll see it's got board feet for a 12-foot log, a 14-foot log, and a 16-foot log. So this log should give 48 board feet, and actually when using a bandsaw, you usually wind up getting a little more, and when just kind of leaving the slabs on too, you get a little bit more. So, that's a good thing to have if you want to get a quick idea of how many board feet you're going to get from a log, especially if you're buying a log from somebody or something. But here we are, we're starting to cut this cherry up, and it's really just another really beautiful log. I'm amazed, and the amazing thing with these coming from the tree service, I did not hit one piece of metal in them. I should have I didn't get out the metal detector. I should have checked them, but I really didn't need it. So there you can see the more really beautiful figured cherry off of this log, and pretty much every slice from it was the same. They were just pretty much clear and a nice grain pattern and a nice bright red. So here we are just taking another cut, and this is the speed that a manual mill goes at. So if you're considering milling and you want to go faster than this, you might need a more powerful machine and a larger machine. It's always fun opening up a log like this and just finding out exactly what's inside it, one slice at a time. So there we have a couple more slabs off of there, and you can see they're all basically, really beautiful slabs, and the bark is really intact well, so I think it might stay on there. Then I've got this little beech log here that I loaded on, and I sliced that up into a couple small pieces there, and next I'm gonna be playing with this big ash that came from the Firewood load also. This one's got some big knots and stuff in it looks like, but you never know till you get inside of it and start cutting it open. So same thing, the probably getting pretty boring to you by now, but this is what you go through when you're dealing with a manual mill. You can't just hit the button and have hydraulics loaded or anything. So the next we just load this up on the mill there, and just once it's up there, just roll it on the mill, and you can see those couple of uprights with the stops on the other side that I built into the trailer, and that just keeps it from rolling off the other side. And I will tell you, I forgot to put them on once, and the logs do go flying right off the other side if they don't stop. So there it is, got that one being loaded on the mill there, and this one's going to take those end guides too to hold it up, and starting to mill it. And of all the different lumber that I've milled, I always find that ash can be about the hardest one to mill and to get a nice flat straight cut. I know that right now my blade is getting dull, because this was actually on the saw used for another job before I even started today on these logs, and so it is kind of getting dull, and starting to see a little bit of drifting when you get near the knotted areas on it and stuff. So you really have to keep a good eye on it, but you can pretty much see there was a little bit of waviness in a couple of those cuts, and actually you'll be able to see it here. I didn't really pick it up in time. I just went through and I did the cuts, but I actually should have retensioned the blade before I started doing this ash because they do have a tendency to stretch a little bit, and you'll see basically once I move out of the way there, you'll see a couple dips in the cut on this last piece here. And there it is right there, right by those knots. You can see it. And I wound up just cutting this center section into two 6x6 ash posts. So once they're dry, I'll be able to, size them up and get rid of the waviness here. But, I did get a little bit on that one. And there you can see that the loaders come in handy because these posts weigh well over 100 pounds each with the wet ash. So, it really does help to have something to move the lumber, especially when you're working by yourself, because it's really hard to pick this kind of stuff up in the middle. Then here's one more ash, and this is an old one that I had cut last summer that was laying around there, and you can see that's another nice clear one, beautiful lumber. You're starting to see, that one there had a bullet hole in it. It must have been one of the trees that I shot into in the backyard years ago. But so I did get some real nice lumber. Now I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. I've got this starting to pile it up in my barn here, and actually there's all the nice slabs and pieces that I'm starting to stack there because I've run out of room to stack it. So I'm going to have to do something in the future. First, I'm going to have to build a solar kiln, I think, to get it all dry. And there you can see my blade's it's getting dull, and it's got a one tooth that looks like it's bent or something out of set. And you can pretty much see the marks every time it goes around, or it may even be more than one tooth because I have been hitting a lot of dirt in the bark of some of these tree service trees. But here's another log, and same thing, pretty much all clear, beautiful white wood. So, I did get a lot of really perfect wood out of these logs that I had stacked up here. I guess the one good thing about a manual mill is everything goes kind of slow, as you can see, and you have time to kind of catalog all these slices that you're getting in your mind to kind of come up with future projects for each and every one of them. So, it does give you a little bit of time to think while you're pushing that along there. There's a couple more, really nice ash boards from there. And here's another little beech log. And boy, those things are really heavy. I was amazed. I've never milled beech before. And actually, it's a real tough wood to mill too. It does go slow, and there you can see my toe board again for leveling the logs. And, they're just kind of starting to go in and take some slices off it and try to save as much wood as I could from it because it's something that I don't have already, and it's a log I want to get all I can out of it. So I did wind up getting a couple nice slices out of it, and one nice thick slab there that I figure I might use for some hammerheads one time or something. And now I'm at the point where the blade just is too dull to use anymore. So time to take 15 minutes out and change the blade. Now for this mill you have to remove these end covers that have two nuts on each side. So it does take a couple minutes to get the end covers off, but basically the blade pops right out like that, and it slips out through the chassis frame there. And then the new blade just kind of slides in. I didn't show you on curling the new blade or curling up the old blade, because that's another whole project in itself. But so here it is. It takes a couple of minutes to slip on the new blade, and you have to be real careful because make sure you got good gloves on and stuff, because these things are really sharp. And actually, so far since I've had the mill, the only thing I haven't done anything with sharpening blades. I just have been buying new blades. I figure that for $18 blade or whatever it is, I can usually get about 400 board feet of lumber out of it. So I've been buying new ones, and I have a stack of old ones some days to just send out and get resharpened. But it'll cost me almost as much to mail them away and have them sharpened, I think, as it does to buy new ones. So I haven't really worried yet. So here it is, getting that, put the covers back on, and you never ever want to run one of these mills without the covers on. Those blades, if they snap, they just come out of there, and they can actually kill you. So here's another cherry that came from the tree, the firewood pile, log load, and it's really another really nice sized cherry, and this one I think was about 11 feet long. It's a little bit shorter than the other ones. I had cut some. If you look at the bottom there was a hollow, kind of a rotted section on the bottom that I cut off. So same thing, loading it on the mill and just getting it situated. And there you can see again how handy that log right is. Someday I'll get a short one for the mill, but for now that's, that one works good. And again, these locating brackets have to go on. Kind of not the best solution, but they do work. So, and instead of using nails, I actually got some carriage bolts and just use the impact gun. And now it's time to just start cutting it. It's all been leveled out, and you can see with those brackets on it, you do get just a little tiny bit of a rock in the log if you push it too hard. But the new blade cut through this cherry just like butter, and here you can see this next log here is just as beautiful as all the other ones. Just nothing but bright red cherry, really nice figured grain in it stuff. So I am really happy that I didn't turn these into firewood. They did turn into some beautiful lumber and a couple nice slabs. And here I am now down to the last ash log, and this one's about another 12-foot long ash, and kind of glad that I'm just about done now and just going to have to go back and do all the cleanup. But same thing, just getting it situated on the mill, and then once I get it all centered and everything, I have to use those end brackets again, you can see. But this one was a fairly nice straight log. And here I am. I had just changed that blade out before that cherry log, and now it's time. You can see it needed to be retorqued there. Just to, with ash, you don't want to mess around. You want to make sure the blade's sharp. You want to make sure the blade is torqued. And you want to make sure that you turn your blade lube up and put a little bit extra lube on it, because I find that the ash actually builds up in the gullets on the blade and can cause you problems. So, here we go, just slicing up this last log here, and you can see just like the other ones, got lucky, it's another perfectly clear log, and trying to take the last couple of slices here. And, for that, I just have it laying on the rails on the mill, and you can see it's moving a little bit because it's kind of got a little bit of a crook in it there, and it's just moving against the guides. And now I'm, back inside trying to figure out what to do with all this stuff. And wind up having to use my loader with those pallet forks all the way up to continue stacking on that pile there. And what I do is I'll put a slab up there, and then I'll go back and slide the stickers into it, and slide another slab on top of that. And pretty much is getting up to as high as I can go with that. But here you can see again how handy those little pallet forks actually do turn out to be. And you can see this stuff is really heavy when you're dealing with these, any kind of slabs like this. So I'm all done with that for the year. It's got time to put everything away and fold it up, and the speed wrench makes those jacks go down pretty quick, and everything just kind of folds up, and I've got to just clean it up and roll it away. If you leave the sawdust on it, sawdust has dampness, and it'll cause things to rust and corrode. So you just want to clean it up the best you can, and I still have to go back and clean up all this mess here yet. But there you can see I finally did get all that firewood cut up, and what you see there is the first row, and there's actually 4 stacks just like that, 3 more behind that row, so kind of gives you an idea of exactly what was in that log load. Basically I got a couple hundred board feet of lumber out of it, and I got those 4 stacks of chunks. So here I am. I've really starting to get piles of wood and slabs in there, and still got to figure out what to do with them, but at least I do have it in out of the weather for now, and hopefully in a couple of years it'll be ready to use, but I know I'll definitely be moving it again before then. So I just thought I'd share, milling up those logs here and just let you see the some of the beautiful lumber that I did wind up getting out of that log load also. And that log load really did pay to get. I think it turned out to be a good thing and made my life a lot easier. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.